things together and cover 7 territories here.
Awesome.
We're competing anytime you're ready, Mike.
That's
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of papers there.
That's okay. There's
Scary.
not that many of them. But you're good at dancing through some of these, man. That was good. You had a rather unusual screen test for this. Can you talk about that and what made it especially strange and difficult for you?
Well, there were a number of unusual things. The first was that I knew maybe a third of the executives in the room at my final network test, because I had been a temp for 5 or 6 years in the business, so I'd actually temped for some of the people who were there to watch me perform. But it didn't make me more nervous, it made me less, because I understand that they're just human beings as well. It's really easy for actors to assign godlike status to the people who have the power to give you a job, or not, as the case may be. But my experience working for these people in another facet of the business just humanized them. And other than that, I think I was also the very last person they saw for Michael Scofield. So they'd been scraping the bottom of the barrel for a couple of weeks, and they were ready to start shooting a week and a half from the day that I first picked up a script to see whether I wanted to audition. And I think the fact that it all happened so quickly, I got the script on a Friday, auditioned on a Monday, had a call back on Tuesday, got the part Tuesday night, and then started shooting the following Monday, meant that there just wasn't time for nerves.
They were as comfortable with you as you were with them.
Yeah, I'd like to think so.
Can you talk about some of the preparations you made in researching and in the research you did for the role?
Well, which ties into what we're just talking about. The fact that I only had a week meant that there wasn't a great deal of preparation allowed, which actually worked out well, because I think Michael goes into this prison situation assuming that it's going to be like A, B, and C, but the reality is it's D, E, and F. So the fact that it was a shock to me, and all very new and fresh, and a little bit intimidating, only served in my portrayal of the character. What I did do a little bit of research on was, what it is to be a structural engineer. And I remember one phrase that I came across in one of these books. It said something to the effect of a structural engineer is in the business of figuring out how things are linked together, so that if you figure out which brick to remove in a wall of bricks, if it's the right one, you can bring the whole thing tumbling down, which is what Michael's attempting to do here, to save his brother, who is behind walls, and then second season to find that one brick that's going to allow them to take down the entire government conspiracy that's put him behind walls.
So it wasn't ever important for you to ever sit down with any inmates and maybe talk about what their life was like?
I got a chance to do that on set. We had guys working on our show playing inmates as extras who were inmates at Joliet State Pen, where we were shooting the first season. They'd come back for closure, perhaps. And I think some of the inmates also acclimated to that environment. They became used to the routine of it, the regimen, the 3 squares, the guarantee of a roof over their heads. And not that that's an ideal situation by any stretch, but there is a reason why some people get themselves thrown back into prison. Sometimes it's because they're happiest there or most comfortable.
Did you ever encounter anybody like T-Bag?
No. They, by and large, are probably busy terrorizing people instead of lining up to play extras on a TV show. I'd like to think that we would have been able to weed those people out before they wound up on set.
Can you describe the Prison Break set and talk about some of the challenges involved in working on a show that's set in prison?
The challenges were myriad. The fact that you're working in what was a functioning prison for 150 years brings its own set of challenges, because you're trying to shoot a scene, you're having a good time, you're laughing out in the sun, standing there in the prison yard, joking around with the cast and crew, and then you remember that someone probably got shanked right where you're standing. It's a little bit like picnicking in a graveyard, and psychologically I think it took its toll. But at the same time, it was a very real, visceral reminder of what the stakes were. The writers came to Joliet State to Joliet State Pen and used the existing prison as the prison on the show. So the walls and the tunnels, the cell blocks and the barbed wire that Michael has to negotiate in order to free his brother actually existed. It wasn't a soundstage in Burbank somewhere. So it made the leap from me to my character that much shorter. And the only thing that I was worried about first season was what happens when we escape, because the show is called Prison Break. And Fox River State Pen was our universe. It was the most important character on the show. It lent so much to Prison Break in terms of authenticity and integrity. But the writers are so clever, and what we've got going second season is the entire United States of America functioning as a figurative prison for our heroes.
For you personally, how have those challenges changed in season 2?
Well, my job is to keep this universe spinning on its axis. I am the engineer, literally and figuratively. So it's Michael's job to move the action from plot point to plot point. And the show is a roller coaster ride. We embrace that. I think it's one of our strengths. But there came a time, maybe 12 episodes into season 2, which was only 8 or 9 days in the world of Prison Break, where I was counting up how many car accidents we'd had, how many times someone had shot at me, how many times I'd shot at someone else, the $5 million that we wound up struggling for and losing and then finding and then losing, the bodies that have been stacking up, the people harmed and injured and betrayed, also that my brother can go free. There's a lot that's going on emotionally and psychologically, enough to keep a character occupied on another show for 3 or 4 seasons. So it's my job to honor each and every one of those things as best I can, because if Michael doesn't react to the chaos around him in a believable, relatable fashion, then the audience is left watching a bunch of robots going from one stunt piece to the next, and there's nothing to care about on screen anymore.
What would you say sets Prison Break apart from other serialized dramas like Lost in 24?
Well, I can't say that I'm very familiar with a lot of other TV shows. I don't get the chance to watch much TV. I will say that our writers are especially good at not dropping the ball. They don't leave a lot of loose ends. If some element or hint or clue, some weird piece of business is introduced in episode 5, you know that it eventually will have a payoff. It might be episode 15 or episode 25, but it will all come together to form a cohesive whole. So I think audiences who are willing to invest the time and the energy in the kind of Prison Break universe that we're trying to create will find it a satisfying, rewarding experience.